guys. All right.
Yep, DYRS staff, we're going to move you down to attendees and then bring you back up when you're called on.
Good afternoon. I'm Treyon White Sr., Ward Council member and the chair on the Committee on Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs. Today is Tuesday, April 11, 2023. We are meeting remotely using the Zoom platform. The time is now 12:01 p.m. and I'm calling to order this budget oversight hearing on the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. The mission of DYRS is to service DYRS Rehabilitation Services, Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, to give court-involved youth the opportunity to become more productive citizens by building on the strengths of youth and families in the least restrictive, most home-like environment consistent with public safety. The DYRS vision is to provide the nation's best continuum of care for court-involved youth and their families through a wide range of programs that emphasize individual strengths, personal accountability, public safety, skill development, family involvement, and community support. I look forward to our testimony from our public witnesses today, also joined by our government witnesses as well. I'm going to call the first panel of witnesses now. Alexander Fields, CASA for Children, DC. Sharice Crawford, President and CEO of District Influencers. Regina Robinson, DYRS Fraternal Order of Police Labor Committee. Good afternoon, Ms. Fields. If you're ready, you can go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman White and members of the Committee of Recreation and Library and Youth Affairs. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Alexandra Fields. I'm a senior manager at CASA for Children of DC, and we are honored to have the opportunity to testify today. CASA DC recognizes the vital importance of rehabilitation services for youth in the juvenile legal system, and particularly opportunities for restorative justice and transition support. We applaud the $2 million for DYRS violence prevention initiatives in the mayor's budget. And we are proud that for the first time, CASA DC now has formalized partnership with DYRS to provide programming to teenage girls at the MLK Achievement Center. We are eager to build upon and strengthen this work, but reevaluation and collaboration is necessary to ensure the success of the programming and others. For 20 years, CASA DC has provided compassionate, trauma-informed care for court-appointed youth in DC. Through CASA DC's original mission, when founded in 2002, focused on providing volunteer mentors and advocates to support foster youth, the intersection of needs between foster youth and juvenile involved youth became plainly clear, and that juvenile justice youth would benefit from robust support from CASA volunteer mentors and advocates. The presence and involvement of a caring and supportive adult is a known protective factor against justice involvement for youth. CASA DC's Bridges program was formed in 2019, providing mentorship and advocacy to justice-involved youth through one-on-one support of volunteers which we call Bridges Juvenile Advocates, BGAs. Since that time, Bridges has supported nearly 150 justice-involved youth with demonstrated impact. And that impact is that 89% of our youth have demonstrated positive communication skills and positive coping. 91% have demonstrated pro-social behaviors. 93 have set proactive goals. And with CASA's help, 83% of the youth avoided contact with the juvenile justice system over 6 months. Less than 25% reoffended during the past year, and 86% of Bridges youth are currently on track to successfully complete their diversion programming. JJAG, DC's Juvenile Justice Advisory Group, has adopted a new resolution to enhance mentoring for justice-impacted youth. CASA DC's Bridges program is proof that mentorship can work. Youth committed to DYRS can significantly benefit from the support of a volunteer BGA. Approximately 80% of the juvenile justice youth have experienced trauma, similar to their counterparts in the child welfare system. Understanding the impact of childhood trauma on justice-involved youth is imperative to providing youth with appropriate support and preventing recidivism. With that in mind, in 2022, CASA DC began providing evidence-based peer circles in the community to justice-impacted youth. Through this programming, we have now provided safe, positive, engaging spaces for nearly 100 youth at the DYRS drop-in centers throughout the district every weekday after school. At the end of 2023, CASA DC was contracted to bring the same 2022 actually, CASA DC was contracted to bring the same high quality program to the girls at the MLK DYRS Achievement Center. We are excited for this opportunity, enabling girls to establish positive peer connection while focusing on strengthening their identity and building positive skills alongside creative activities like jewelry making. Unfortunately, we have encountered significant barriers to participation that have not been found at the DYRS drop-in centers. It is our understanding that CASA DC is not alone in this, that while diverse and high quality programming is being offered at DYRS Achievement Centers, kids are not showing up. One concern that has been raised to CASA DC by the parents of interested girls is the lengthy paperwork necessary to participate in the DYRS programming, which is particularly difficult to complete for parents with limited computer access. When girls have registered, we've experienced barriers to the ID requirement. With no DYRS personnel present to check their IDs, we urge DYRS to consider barriers to access and to streamline this registration process so that it does not limit or discourage participation. Additionally, while high quality and diverse programming has been offered, much of the programming is being held at the same time, creating competition, which leads to low attendance and precluding youth from participating in various opportunities. Spreading out programming may improve attendance and participation from varied providers. Our staff has also suggested taking into consideration the neighborhoods that our youth are coming from, which may cause conflict. Youth also need more incentive to participate in programming. While youth were once mandated to attend programming, they no longer are. We welcome this change. Youth should engage in programming because they desire to, but this means they need more encouragement from DYRS staff to attend and more incentives. Additional funding for DYRS could enhance youth incentives to participate, empowering greater engagement with the impactful programming offered. CASA DC would hate to lose the opportunity to provide our girls' circles to DYRS. And we know that there are other providers out there who seek greater chances to engage. With increased funding and support for the department, we can work together to break down logistical barriers and strengthen services to youth. Because restorative justice and supportive programming works, we are eager to strengthen CASA DC's support of DYRS programming. DYRS's vision is to provide the nation's best continuum of care for court-involved and at-risk youth and their families through a wide range of programs that emphasize individual strengths, personal accountability, public safety, skill development, family involvement, and community support. This fully aligns with CASA DC's mission and programming, helping court-involved youth not only to survive, but to thrive. CASA DC can be an additional support for DYRS youth, improving outcomes and futures. We look forward to continuing partnering with DYRS. We know with this opportunity for continued and strengthened collaboration that we could make a true difference together. Thank you, as always, Chairman White and members of the Committee on Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs, and to the Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services for all you do. We welcome any questions and thank you all for your time and your support.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Sharice Crawford, District Influencers. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. I want to thank you, Councilmember, for your tireless efforts during this budget season. The committee, who has been extremely responsive, your staff on the council, you all are doing incredible work to really help to bridge much needed gaps. And to the Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services, Trey Stanback, I believe, is who joining us today. I want to thank you for taking a moment to join us to help us use our budget to build a stronger future for our youth and families. My name is Sharice Crawford. I am the president and founder of District Influencers, former advisory neighborhood commissioner in 8E04, 8C03, as well as a former member at large for the DC State Committee for Statehood. And all of those things happened as a transformation and turning point for me, as I was once also a justice involved youth and what they considered to be an at-risk youth as I was a student at Anacostia Senior High School, forced to participate in Sasha Bruce youth work. And since that time, I have utilized every resource, every agency, every program, every initiative that helped me to transform my life, to develop more strategic programs and platforms at District Influencers to create safe spaces. And as you know, Council Member, we really appreciate your support on the Cyber Safety Initiative, where we're also coming in to ask DYRS to be a partner in such a national and hyper-local mission. And that partnership is allowing us to engage with young people in the court appointed system, allowing us to bring some of our strategic programming. We've helped young people with getting their haircut, building relationships. We've helped to groom and help with the right attire. We've been in the court systems where some of our young people don't even have the suits and ties that they need to go and appear before a court or to go onto what would be possibly an interview. And we want to be a resource and a conduit in filling in the gaps where we need greater support. When we say create safe spaces, our last grooming salon that happened in the Congress Park community happened at the same time as a youth shooting. And our safe space kept those young people from being on the streets at that time. My last interaction with a young person inside the courthouse was about 2 weeks ago, where this child is being withheld from school, and their father is working to get some type of joint custody or update to determine the child's well-being. This is a part of my everyday life and everyday work, from youth engagement to family engagement to external affairs. And we are seeking both partnership and budget resources from DYRS budget to help execute, advance, and enhance the mission that is set forward for our youth and families. We are hoping for a full recovery. I am proof that recovery is possible. I am proof that rehabilitation is possible. And we are looking for the opportunity to help implement our processes, programs, and opportunities to enhance and advance the mission. And I want to say thank you so much, Council Member, for this very important budget hearing, and look forward to continuing to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Regina Robinson.
Not sure why my video's not coming up.
I can hear you,
So,
but I
good
can't
morning.
see you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what audio is not coming up.
Okay.
So, good morning, all.
Come on.
Members of the Committee on Recreations, Library, and Youth Affairs, my name is Regina Robinson. I am the chairwoman of the Fraternal Order of Police, Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services Labor Committee. FOP DYRS represent approximately 250 employees of the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, primarily in the job classification of Youth Development Representative. We are the essential employees who deal directly with the youth in custody and care of DYRS. On behalf of these employees, I come today to testify to draw your attention to unaddressed severe safety concerns within DYRS facilities that threaten my members and the youth we serve. Before you vote to approve the budget for DYRS, you should know that prior to Interim Director Trey Stanback's appointment to the agency failed to live up to its mission to improve public safety and offer court-involved youth the opportunity to become more productive citizens. To the contrary, DYRS has allowed security to lapse at times when violence and assaults are a regular occurrence inside the supposedly secure facilities. This does not improve public safety and distracts from the youth's opportunity to become productive citizens. First, you must understand the environment inside Youth Services Center and New Beginnings. Because the youth in DYRS facilities are not held accountable when they assault each other or staff, the work environment has become dangerous for union members. There have been at least 7 youth on staff assault in the last month, resulting in a concussion and laceration to one staff and a staff member whose nose was fractured after being struck by a resident. Little or nothing happened to those who would perpetrate such assaults with a lack of meaningful consequence for violent behavior. Residents clearly understand the message that it is possible to get away with whatever behavior you want. It is just not union members who are aware and are targeted by this violence. Recently, the interim superintendent of the Youth Services Center was assaulted by a resident, and the superintendent of New Beginnings was essentially barricaded on a housing unit by a group of Title 16 residents. The union has repeatedly raised its safety concerns to management, but we are not taken seriously, and nothing is being done to change this culture. It feels to my members like no one cares about their safety or whether they are attacked. A significant source and influence of the violence come from the Title 16's residents ages 18, 19, and 20. These young people have been charged as adults for serious crimes and are facing adult prison time. Because they are young adults, they have been permitted to stay at DYRS when they could otherwise be included in the adult population where they would be if they had been convicted after reaching 18. The union doesn't object to these people being at DYRS so long as there is a zero tolerance policy for stepping outside the norms of permissible behavior. It is unacceptable for a 20-year-old to be assaulting another resident or staff member and be permitted to stay with the youth population. Recently, we had a group of Title 16 residents engage in what they deemed a peaceful protest by refusing to return to their rooms when directed to do so. That's not a peaceful protest. That is a significant violation of the rule and an impediment to the agency's ability to carry out its mission and provide safety for all residents. If these adults are unwilling to comply with DYRS rules, they must be moved to the adult population immediately, as their continued presence threatens the compliant youth who reside in our facility. One step DYRS could take toward improving the situation would be to prioritize security and safety better. It is becoming typical for contraband to make its way into the supposed to be secured facility. By contraband, I'm specifically referring to drugs and cell phones. Youth who obtain and use drugs from outside tend to behave erratically and are more likely to be assaultive. And of course, there is the obvious risk of overdose. Cell phones are also coming in, and they can be more dangerous than you might realize, as they are tools for coordinating violence inside and outside the facility or for planning opportunities for escape or retribution against staff. DYRS needs to invest in better security measures to stop the contraband flow. At present, security is lax. If the TSA can secure our airports with body scans and x-ray equipment, there is no reason that DYRS cannot do a better job of ensuring that dangerous contraband stays out of our secured facilities. DYRS could use drug sniffing dogs and invest in better screening equipment than bare metal detectors that do a miserable job of keeping drugs and cell phones out of the facilities. These items are banned for a reason. And while this goes uncontrolled, the risk to youth and staff are genuine and urgent. Another central area of underinvestment is in our control room. This is the room where monitors show cameras footage throughout the facility, providing what we call eyes on supervision, or that's the idea. In reality, the monitors goes out, sometimes for hours. Sometimes the simple act of using a radio nearby can result in interference with the control room equipment. There has supposedly been money in the budget for years to address these problems, but nothing meaningful has been done. This is a significant safety issue. And in speaking of radios, we did not have reliable functioning radios to call for help when a situation turns dangerous. The equipment is old and outdated, and the batteries don't hold a charge. We have been promised new radios, but nothing has happened. These are essential safety tools that we need to perform our jobs. We are asking that the council be aware of and take an interest in these safety concerns pertaining to our members and the youth we serve. Please take whatever steps you can to ensure DYRS finds a way to invest in safety and security within the facility. My members are scared to come to work and do not feel that the agency has their back. Please help in any way you can. Thank you for your time and attention to my testimony and the views I raised on behalf of the DYRS FOP union body.
Thank you so much, Ms. Robinson. We'll come back to you in a moment. I want to jump back to Ms. Fields. What kind of training does your staff take to serve youth with mental and behavioral health challenges?
So our staff and volunteers take 30 hours of training, which includes different scenarios to address those. Some of it is sprinkled with trauma-informed care, mental health first aid. I mean, we also have a clinical department that consults and trains on a regular basis staff with different, challenges. For instance, we have one coming up on how to work with youth in group homes. So we have a constant professional development outside of those 30 hours.
Got it. I noticed during your testimony, you talked about the lengthy paper requirements for parents. Is this digital paperwork or is this something you can fill out in person?
You fill it out in person. The parents actually have to sign.
Oh,
Yes.
the parents have to sign. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And you talked a little bit about the low attendance and why, and you even offered some solutions about spreading out the programming that may improve attendance. Is this due to public safety? Or is this due to access to transportation? What can you speak more to the low attendance?
Yeah, so it's not due to public safety. It's more getting the word out to kids, especially in the community Ward 8, that is happening, right? So DYRS usually is viewed as more of a punitive thing for kids in the community, but because it's open up to community kids, we really need to get them excited and incentivized to actually come into the building. Even where it's located, if you didn't know it was there, which for good reason it's there, but if you didn't know, like a kid walking by the big chair, they wouldn't know that the programming is happening. So it's such good programming, but the kids just don't know it's going on. The kids that we need to reach in that out of school time and really to prevent crime. In terms of the competing programming, for instance, we have Girls Circle, and then there might be cosmetology going on at the same time. And so you have some kids going there and then we don't get any kids. So that's just a matter of logistics and trying to find a sweet spot on where we both can have, really good, strong programming going on.
Thank you. What are the qualifications for youth participating in your program?
They have to be either in the foster care system or juvenile justice system.
Okay. So you work with youth outside of DYRS, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I heard you say also in your testimony, you prevented almost 80% of the kids from going into custody of DYRS. Is that accurate?
That's more for, well, yes, I guess that would be accurate. We prevented them, they completed their probation requirements.
Okay.
And that's just our juvenile justice youth that we
Are
track.
are they referred to you by the courts?
Yes, sir. DC Superior Courts refers all of our, not all of our youth, but is our main referral source.
Okay. And how is your is programming going to streamline some of the issues? Is there a person at DYRS you talk to regularly, not to ask for their name, but just kind of work through this internally? Has there been a good relationship building?
Yes, I mean, there's DYRS, and then there's the contractor that works with DYRS. So we've been working with them both, really trying to brainstorm how we can improve it, but it's no immediate improvement. And I think it's going to take not just depending on the providers to bring youth, but really working collaboratively to get those already identified DYRS youth that are in DYRS custody to the groups.
Okay. And I hear this often about DYRS or the courts or any supervision agency, including court social services, not making certain programs mandatory. Thus, it becomes volunteer on a voluntary basis if they want to attend these programs. And I know they have these family team meetings that happens with some of the youth upon exiting the detention facility. I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think that's good not to mandate or to mandate? What's your thoughts on that?
I think as a step down, it should be mandated to transition into the community, but also opened up to the youth in the community. So I'm for mandating it as down and a support.
Okay. Sorry, just taking a little bit of notes. All right. So we asked them about that as well. How many youth would you say are in your program that come through DYRS?
We've had about 3 to 4 youth come, so minimal numbers.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chairman White, do you mean how many youth in CASA DC are committed to DYRS or how many come to the achievement centers?
Both. How many are connected to DYRS in general?
I will have to get you that exact number, but I know probably about 30% of our juvenile justice youth are connected to DYRS, whether they're committed or they've had some involvement with DYRS.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you always coming to give vital information at these hearings. Ms. Sharice Crawford, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council member.
All right, and I know that you've been doing this work for over a decade, and now you transition to in a more formal role, using your organization to provide assistance to youth development. What kind of challenges have you faced, if you have any juvenile involved youth at all?
Well, I think the first challenge is that there is not a direct streamline for parents who are actively trying to get their youth out of the justice system. We had one instance where the young man who was under 5 years old was shot, and the mom hasn't been at all subpoenaed while she's marketing the child with a gun, saying that it's her shooter on social media. We need more support from both the justice system, our judges, to help parents who are eagerly working to get their children out of the justice system to take stronger actions when they're at such a young age before they're turning into the ages.
You said this kid was 5 years old?
I think currently the child is 6. When the child was shot, he was about 4. But now the dad is trying to get the child not to be a justice involved youth, but there's no court action to force the mom to come to court in a custody battles. So we're dealing with this at very young ages, which is turning into the problems that we're seeing, that we're not able to get a grip on before they get to DYRS. And while in DYRS and other in community, it's a pipeline. The pipeline continues, and we have to really address at the younger ages while parents are actively fighting to get their kids.
Thank you. You have a cyberbullying movement that you are involved with. How do you
Yes.
see connecting with DYRS?
Well, I think the testimony from Regina Robinson is testimony, or testament enough to say that the devices are being illegally brought into the facilities, which are creating a sort of call to action on social media platforms. So in partnership with DYRS, helping to identify who in these facilities have access to contraband, i.e. Direct phones, which are connecting them to social media, determining who's going to get, who's next on the hit list. We have to access these phones immediately through DYRS. We have to identify these individuals immediately through DYRS, because this is a part of an ongoing larger threat that's becoming a national. It's becoming a national threat, and if we don't get on it locally, we'll have Congress involved.
Thank you. I'm gonna jump down. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. I'm gonna jump down to Ms. Robinson real quick. Is Ms. Robinson still here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I heard you speak to, I don't know if you said several or 7 new youth on staff assaults. Can you give us some clarity on that?
I'm sorry, sir. You're breaking up.
I'm breaking up. Okay. I heard you mention student to staff assault. I don't know if you said 7 or several. It looked like your computer's buffering.
So it was 7.
Can you repeat that for me, please?
So I say it was 7. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet connection right now, but I'm barely hearing you.
I can hear you. Okay.
7 youth on staff assault. And I believe since I submitted that, it's been more since that time.
Okay. And you said that most of these youth are the Title 16 youth, and you pretty much was saying that nothing was happening. I know we got a report that some of these youth have been transferred to the DC jail. Do you have any more accurate information about when you say nothing's happening? What's your correspondence with you, with DYRS after these incidents?
So most recently, Mr. Stanback has done a great job with jumping on top of getting those Title 16 residents, most recently, that has been involved in situations, moved to DOC. However, with that being said, we do have our detained and committed residents that are housed here that are committing these offenses. And of course, we cannot send them to DOC. So more meaningful, I guess you would say, sanctions are not happening. You have this thing with room confinement of once the residents are in their room and they're contracting for safety, they're to be let back out, whether it's assault on another resident, assault on the staff, their non-compliance. If you're giving them a cool out, what's considered a cool out, and if they go in and they're contracted for safety 5 minutes later, then they're allowed to come back out. That's not consequential enough in the eyes of the direct care staff that's working here. It has to be more of a consequence than 5 minutes in their room.
In your experience, do you know, are the youth getting new charges or not getting charges or going through mediation? Do you know what happens on a, from your experience, on an interagency level?
So I know on a couple of occasions that I've encouraged the members to go and press charges, and some have. Unfortunately, and this is not under Mr. Stanback's time that he's been here, under prior administrators, we were advised that the agency cannot press charges on behalf of the union members. So I have encouraged, and some members have listened and went and pressed charges. However, once the charges were pressed, if they were rearrested, the cases were no paper.
How many union members do you currently have through the FOP labor union?
Right now we're about 163, maybe 163, 200, something like that.
Okay. And this consists of what type of staff there?
Line staff, direct care staff, YDRs, youth development representatives.
I heard you also, thank you. I heard you also speak to the technology there, and also what Ms. Crawford spoke to about I guess you said that the monitors go out, which causes a safety issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In our control center, although there were new monitors put in, if you're utilizing a radio too close to a monitor, it will cause the monitors to go out. Even there has been occasions where the monitors will go out despite not using the radio near them. So that has been an issue in the past. I believe, I know since I've taken office, since 2020, I've had several conversations with the administrators about updating the control center here at YSC. New Beginnings has a wonderful control center. It's here at YSC that's the issue.
Thank you. You also talked about they need to have a zero tolerance policy. I know that even under the previous administration, they started this movement with trying to really inspire and move with love in these facilities. And, you know, as you see in the community, even in the facility, the violence has escalated. How do you suggest they find a balance between leading with love and restorative justice to holding youth and young adults accountable?
So I think overall, I give credit to my members. We have been consistently trying to provide that love to our residents that the agency wants to move forward with and provide this home-like environment. We're all in line with that. However, with that being said, as I stated in my testimony, the Title 16 residents, especially if they're over the age of 18, if they're here and they're not compliant to the juvenile rules, what's the purpose of them staying here? They need to go to the adult system, whether they've been sentenced or not, pre-adjudicated or whatever status they're in their court proceedings. If they're here in a safer environment and they're still non-compliant and not following the rules and impeding everyday workings in the facility, they don't need to be here. That's what I mean about zero tolerance with the Title 16. Of course, we know with our committed and detained youth, we have to deal with the behaviors, but we have to find a better way of how to deal with them. And that means, if that even means being more given better sanctions than what we have going on right now, because at this time it's completely out of control.
Thank you. I heard you allude to they need to have better security measures. And you, I think you gave an example of sniffing dogs. You also talked about, as I know personally, that in the last year, the influx of cell phones and drugs to facility has picked up tremendously. Can you give me elaborate on what better security measures you're thinking about?
So with that being said, as I stated, with the drug sniffing dogs doing visitation, have the dogs here doing visitation every week. That will deter parents from coming up here. One, because we don't know exactly who's bringing in the contraband. Well, it's a deterrent from everybody. It will prevent parents and visitors from attempting to bring stuff in. It will prevent them from coming in here smelling like marijuana. As far as metal detectors, invest in one of those x-ray security screeners that TSA has that will scan the body for cell phones, because I may give you a cell phone that you visibly see, but I still have one, and as a female that I can hide somewhere, even as a male. But if you have those scanners, we can detect those undetectable items in the regular metal detectors, things that we have here in the facilities today. So just invest in something more efficient.
Got it. Do you feel like there's enough security officers at the facility?
Security officers or YDRs?
Security officers. So YDRs is actually working with the youth. I'm talking about like,
Yeah,
when I first come into the facility, there are security officers who are at the front wanding that process.
I believe it's a sufficient amount of staff there. Is just, I think that their duties need to be expanded. For example, here at YC, on the midnight tour, they need a rover to go through our parking lots. It's been several times in our parking lot here, staff cars have been broken into. When you work in the AM shift and you come in early in the morning, that there's homeless or random people sitting in the creases of the facility. There needs to be, they need to do more. They need to
Got it.
have
So we just gotta also
as
receive,
far as the staffing expanded.
thank you. We also received a report of an assault from a youth on one of the workers at one of the vendors at one of the other locations. I don't want to disclose the location. And so have you seen or heard from staff that more security and or staff is needed at these other facilities that provide programming to the youth?
I'm sorry, sir, you were breaking up, so I didn't catch all of your question. It was kind of in and out. Can you please repeat it?
Yes. So we received a report of an assault on a vendor from a youth. Not in a DYRS facility like New Beginnings or YSC, but at one of the community sites. Are you hearing that we need more security and or staff at these other facilities as well?
I have not heard anything about any outside facilities needing more security. I have not.
All right. Have you heard what type of contraband has been confiscated there at the facility?
Cell phones, vape pens, chargers, those type of things. There was an occasion, I believe that it was suspected that they were, what do you call it, edibles, the cupcake edibles, gummy edibles. I've also heard that Percocets. So, yeah, all of the above.
Thank you. All right. I'm a little over my time, but since there's no other member here, to the point of privilege. But thank you, ladies, for taking time out of your busy schedules and the phenomenal work you are doing to help develop young people and stand in the gap, and also, make sure those who work with our young people are adequately trained and equipped with what they need to do an excellent job. We have a number of additional questions we're taking from you guys, and we'll be asking the leadership of DYRS. We're going to now transition to our government witnesses. We want to thank you, ladies, for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact me or my staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is the portion where we transition to our government witnesses. Director Standback, if everyone who will be speaking on behalf of your agency can raise their right hand, is the practice of this committee to swear in all government witnesses, and we ask you to turn your camera on and your audio on. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to this committee is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Director Standback, if you have an opening testimony, you can begin. I don't hear anything. I can see that you're talking. I can see that you're unmuted, but I don't hear anything. Nothing yet. Try again. Adam, put a thumbs up if you can hear him. Okay, we can't hear you. Maybe you have to log out and log back in. Then we'll give you a moment to do that.
How about now, Councilman White?
Perfect. You can go right ahead.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson White, members and staff of the Committee on Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs. I'm Trey Standback, Interim Director of the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. I was recently entrusted with the great responsibility of leading DYRS as interim director, and I'm honored to serve in this capacity. I'm also joined by senior DYRS leadership who may assist during this hearing. Today, I'm here to provide testimony on Mayor Bowser's fiscal year 2024 Fair Shot budget. This budget is designed to bolster core city services, improve experiences for residents, visitors, and businesses interacting with the district, and provide greater opportunity for residents to learn, grow, and thrive. Before I begin, I would like to thank Mayor Bowser and Acting Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah for their continued leadership and guidance in providing opportunities and services for youth and families in the district. I would also like to thank my colleagues and DYRS stakeholders for their support and dedication to our important and necessary work to give our city's youth a fair shot to succeed. At DYRS, our staff and service providers strive to offer district youth the best continuum of care and ensure that we're building on their strengths to help them be productive young women and men as they grow into adulthood. We know that by investing in our young people, their families and communities, we can help improve the opportunities and experience for the population we serve. For this reason, we're excited that Mayor Bowser's fiscal year 2024 budget will continue to provide us with the resources necessary to offer innovative best practices and programs that promote individual strengths and personal accountability. Individual strengths, personal accountability, education, workforce readiness, and family involvement. all with the goal of putting our young people in a position to succeed after they move on from DYRS. DYRS's fiscal year 2024 proposed budget is $87.83 million. It is a 2% decrease from fiscal year 2023. This reduction is primarily due to the removal of 46 FTEs, which have been vacant for several years. While no agency likes to lose FTEs, we believe this right sizing puts us at the appropriate level to provide comprehensive programming while ensuring we are fiscally responsible stewards to the district's residents. As we look ahead, Chairperson White, we look forward to the continued development of our community programming through initiatives such as Credible Messenger and our Achievement Center programming. Our Credible Messengers are leaders in their community and have similar life experiences to the young people we serve. They have been an essential resource for DYRS youth and families, providing guidance, mentorship, and other necessary supports to help our kids remain on the right track. Credible Messengers continue to build bridges between our youth and our communities. They work to instill in our young people that this city is their home and the importance of treating home with love and respect. Currently, DYRS works with 7 Credible Messenger provider organizations that employ 67 Credible Messengers. 48 are assigned to DYRS Youth and Families, 12 are assigned to District of Columbia Public Schools, 3 are assigned to Child and Family Services Agency, and 4 are assigned to District of Columbia Public Libraries. In fiscal year 2024, DYRS plans to keep Credible Messenger funding levels consistent with fiscal year 2023 investments in the program, which is approximately $3.8 million. Additionally, our achievement centers in Northwest and Southeast DC serve as community-based points of pride for the agency. They are safe spaces where our youth have an opportunity to learn, build skills, and flourish in programs ranging from barbering to digital literacy and music production. The Achievement Centers foster career development and family engagement and serve as a hub within the community for our youth and families. In addition to programming, each location provides access to caring professionals, including youth engagement specialists, youth peer advocates, youth and family team meeting staff, case management staff, mental health staff, workforce development and education staff, and others. In fiscal year 2024, DYRS plans to keep Achievement Center funding levels consistent with fiscal year 2023 investments, which is approximately $2.24 million. But as you know, council member, it is not just court-involved youth who can benefit from DYRS programs and services. This is why we've made our community offerings available to more youth across the district, not just youth involved in the justice system. Our budget was designed to account for these additional participants, reflecting the mayor's goal of giving all DC residents a fair shot. To this end, we recently launched the DC Youth Leadership Oasis, which endeavors to provide intensive intervention programs and services for youth and families at risk of justice system involvement. While this program is in its early stages, we believe it is a promising addition to the district's efforts to reduce crime and prevent as many young people as possible from becoming court involved. I would also like to thank you, Councilmember White, for attending the first day of the program. I know our staff, our youth at Kramer Middle School really appreciated it. The DC Youth Leadership Oasis is a program for 10 to 17-year-olds conducted in age-appropriate cohorts designed to provide mentorship and connections to community programs that last beyond the 16-week course. Using a custom-built curriculum, the program focuses on helping youth and families develop resilience, particularly for those who have faced repeated stress, trauma, and challenging experiences. Initiatives like this are essential in reducing the rates of gun violence by providing out-of-school time activities, opportunities, and family resources that may not have otherwise been accessed. Additionally, this investment will provide youth an opportunity to learn violence preventative measures and other necessary skill sets needed to create a safer environment for themselves and their families. By reaching these young people before any potential court involvement, we are hopeful that we will put them on a course to succeed without having to go through the justice system. In fiscal year 2024, DYRS plans to keep the DC Youth Leadership Oasis funding levels consistent with fiscal year 2023 investments, which is approximately $800,000. We are keenly aware that youth need round-the-clock support, and it's up to us to provide quality care tailored to their strengths and needs in order to positively impact their lives and improve public safety outcomes. With this in mind, we are redoubling our efforts to maintain safe, secure facilities and effectively partner with our providers and stakeholders to provide robust services and supports to ensure young people can thrive in our care and they are connected to the appropriate resources to help them succeed when they are no longer in our care. To do this, we're prioritizing investments in our direct care teams, which directly impact the care we are able to provide for our young people. And the mayor's fiscal year 2024 budget allows us to make these necessary investments. At DYRS, our team is dedicated to ensuring our youth and families' experience with our agency is positive and successful in all aspects. But to accomplish these goals, we must also take care of our team. During my time at DYRS, there have been numerous staff and program changes, but there's one constant that is important regardless of any changes, and that is a healthy staff, both physically and mentally. A healthy staff is critical to ensuring our youth receive the care they need. So it's my priority to work with everyone at DYRS to make this agency a healthy environment for youth and staff. We will do this by emphasizing accountability for all youth and staff, by listening to our colleagues' suggestions and criticisms, and implementing necessary improvements to enhance our workforce's ability to do their job. And by challenging everyone at DYRS to know that their role directly impacts the district. By and large, we know that our young people's success is driven by the choices they make. However, for our young people to make the right choices, they need responsible adults showing them the proper path. And it's critical that the adults working with the youth and families that DYRS serves feel supported, respected, and properly equipped with the necessary tools to care for our young people and their families. In closing, I thank my colleagues at DYRS, our sister agencies, and community partners for continuously renewing their commitment to the youth and families in this great city. Because of the dedication and commitment I see daily, our agency will continue to successfully provide necessary support and resources for youth and family programs to meet the needs of all who engage. Though our work remains challenging and demanding, I continue to be encouraged by the diligent work executed by our staff and partners across the city. With them, it's possible to provide the extensive care necessary for this critical work. This budget illustrates our commitment to public safety and continued investments that support cultivating creative and engaging youth activities, novel violence prevention programs, and support for district youth and families. Chairperson White, I would also like to thank you for your leadership and the opportunity to address the Committee on Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs. We look forward to our partnership and the opportunity to serve all residents who call Washington, D.C. their home. I'm open to answering any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Officially, how long have you been the interim director?
I believe it's been about 8 weeks now.
8 weeks. All right. I did get some positive feedback from Mr. Robinson today about, being responsive and hearing their concerns. I think that's very important. We talk about an agency that's so critical and always under watch, being as though you oversee and watch and responsible for housing some of our youth who are in the system. Wanted to ask you, Director, how many youth do you have at each facility currently?
Currently, council member, we have 46 youth at New Beginnings, and we have 75 youth at YSC.
Okay. And how many do you have in your total care?
Well, council member, we have a grand total of 127 committed youth. And then we have 16 Title 16 youth. Then we have 29 youth in shelter care. These are youth who are placed in shelter by the Superior Court and are under court social services supervision. And then we serve a whole host of community and family members at our achievement centers.
I did hear you talk about that you lost some staff due to the cut in the budget. I think you said 46?
46, correct.
How would this affect your quality of services to residents there?
Well, we don't think it will, council member. It actually represents a right sizing of our budget. Historically, we've had vacancies in the range of 90 to 100. Currently we have 92 vacancies. So cutting half of that leaves us with approximately 46 vacancies. And it's our goal to fill these vacancies to ensure that we're staffed appropriately. So the cut of 46 vacancies will not have any impact to agency operations.
Got it. There are a lot of concerning things happening at DYRS. Some of which you heard today about the increase of drugs, cell phones, drug paraphernalia. It increased pretty much in the last year there at your facilities. What is DYRS doing to address that?
So, council member, I agree with you and agree with Ms. Robinson's sentiment. We have to eliminate contraband. Now, while there's always been some contraband within the secure facilities, we did see an increase between November and March of this year. So one thing we did resume canine searches, and we're working to make them more frequently. We increased random unit searches. We heightened our security screening for staff, contractors, and visitors. And we've banned people from our facilities when discovering drugs on them during searches. And we are going to make the appropriate referrals to MPD when we discover who is giving anything illegal to young people. But you know, since this period of November to March, we've seen a decline in the contraband that we're finding.
What was the result of the K9 searches?
So I do know that the K9 search apparently hit on something in a particular space in one of our facilities. But we were unable to locate any additional contraband than had already been found, which was the reason why we initiated the K9 search.
Yeah, and so we know just logically, if a person has a cell phone, he or she has to charge that phone. What is being done to confiscate those phones while those phones are being charged? You have to charge a cell phone regularly.
Right, I agree with you, council member, and that's why we're increasing our random unit searches. You know, we know that someone has to be giving these young people the contraband. And so this is why we're sending managers around more frequently. We are trying to improve our eyes on supervision in order to eliminate anything from coming into the facilities that should not.
Has there been any staff that been caught bringing illegal things into the facility?
Not that I'm aware of, council member. You know, unless something happened prior to me taking this role, I'm not aware of staff being caught directly with any contraband.
Also, can you walk us through what happens when a person comes to visit? Let's use YSC, for example. What's the screening process?
Right. So at YSC and New Beginnings, our young people have a list of approved visitors. And so anyone who comes in to see these young people must be on that list of approved visitors. They come through a magnetometer that scans for metal objects, and prior to, and they have to put any belongings also through an X-ray machine. Then prior to entry to the secure side of the facility, they're required to be pat down. And then they're permitted to enter into the visitation space to visit their young person.
So have you all caught anyone bringing any cell phones in the facility who is not authorized?
I'm not aware of us catching anyone with cell phones coming in that are not authorized. But I do know that people have been sent back to their cars to put certain belongings in. And some people, whether they smell like they've been using drugs or look like they're under the influence or may have had drugs on them, have been turned away from the facility.
How many cell phones have you confiscated in the last year?
I do not have that exact number, council member. I can get that to your office though.
Yeah, we need it. We can have it by the end of the hearing because I just want to make sure there's progress being made and we've been intentional about that, because even with the drugs, we've been getting a lot of notices from the community, from reports, from law enforcement about drug uses and overdoses at the facility, which is very dangerous. And it's a liability for government agencies for youth that's in our care to be overdosing on drugs that he or she didn't have before coming into the facility. And we want to make sure that if there was cell phones there and if they were confiscated, to make sure we're figuring out how it's getting back in if that's the case. But if we don't know the numbers, we don't know if they've been confiscated, it's hard for us to, as a council to have government oversight about just keeping these facilities safe.
Absolutely, council member. We will work on getting that information to your office.
How many times has the dogs been there to sniff the facilities, and what facilities?
In my time, once council member, and I believe it was at both facilities. I will have to double check. But we are working with DOC to bring their canines more often, as we do not have a canine unit ourselves.
How many Title 16 units do you have in our custody at the facility? And which facility?
So we have 2 Title 16 units at New Beginnings, and we have 2 Title 16 units at YSC.
Can you say that number again for me, please?
2 at each. There are a total of 10 Title 16 youth at New Beginnings and 6 Title 16 youth at YSC.
How many have we had year to date?
I would need to gather that information and get that to you, council member.
Yeah. So I know we have some of your staff here. I'm assuming you have some staff that's at work today. I'm sure you're pretty sure if this is a detention facility, you know how many people in your facility. So that should be easy to grab the record. If you can grab that for me, because this is a public hearing, I want to get that on public record. There was several incidents that involved Title 16 youth recently. What has happened from those assaults that's been happening involving Title 16 youth?
So, council member, I've heard Ms. Robinson loud and clear, and I have been working with and talking to Ms. Robinson and her members about this very issue. And so, for me, for Title 16 young people or any young person to assault our staff, I take that very seriously. And so, we are examining accountability measures, but we're also putting consequences in place so that if a young person attacks our staff, they have to know.
So, Director, real quick, I want to manage my time better. So
Sure.
You said we're not talking about if there were assaults that happened in the last 2 weeks.
Yes,
right?
council member.
Right. So I'm going beyond Ms. Robinson because this is beyond Ms. Robinson. What has happened with those assaults by youth who are Title 16 recently?
There have been 4 Title 16 youth that assaulted staff within the last couple of weeks, and assaults where staff members wanted to press charges, and we supported their right to press charges. 2 of the Title 16 youth were taken to the Department of Corrections over at DC Jail, and 2 were rebooked and recharged, and because of their age, they're under 18, brought back to one of our secure facilities.
So for clarity, it was 4. 2 went to DC jail, 2 at the facility. Is that correct in saying?
Yes, council member.
And I heard you say that not all staff press charges. So what happened to the youth that were not pressed charges on?
Well, those youth are, anytime that they are involved in a incident in the facilities, they are referred for a disciplinary hearing. And during the disciplinary hearing, it's determined by a hearing officer what consequences they will be levied upon them. And their behavior will impact their ability to achieve their next level. And with the level system, especially at our facilities, you need to progress through the level system in order to be released for committed youth. And then for Title 16 youth, because we don't determine their release, these particular youth will not progress through the level system, and they will not achieve certain privileges.
Got you. So at one point, Title 16 were at the DC jail, but they were brought back to DYRS What type of supports does DYRS provide to, I don't know if I can say the word prepared because you can never prepare anyone for jail, but what type of supports do you provide to youth in their transition? Because most of them will be going to a federal penitentiary.
Sure, council member. One thing that we do is we have credible messengers that you're aware of. But we also, in addition to having credible messengers in the community, we have credible messengers who work with our young people in our facilities. And one specific population that they work with is the Title 16 young people, on helping educate them about what to expect, if and when they are transferred to DOC.
I got it. Now educationally, who is currently contracted to provide education services? I heard you mention a list of schools that students, young adults attend. Who does DYRS contract with for education?
So at both the Youth Services Center and at New Beginnings, we contract with the See Forever Foundation, Maya Angelou Academy.
Okay. And it was in previous hearings, there was a break-in services or trying to find or continue the services, as I might say. How has that relationship been working in ensuring that our youth are getting the education they need while under DYRS care?
It's working well, in my opinion, council member. I have been fortunate to be able to meet and talk to a lot of the staff members that work in the school when I do walkthroughs through the facilities, and they report back that they are seeing progress in our young people. And that's the biggest thing that we can hope for, that they achieve progress during their time with us.
Thank you, Director. Do you have an update on those numbers?
I believe so, council member. So to date, we've had 27 Title 16 young people in 2023, FY23.
And currently we only have 2 left, or is it 4 left?
No, total currently for Title 16, we have 16.
Oh, 16, okay. I'm not sure if you gave the number of how many was at each facility? Did you give me that?
Yes, there are 6 at YSC and 10
No,
at
total youth in the facility.
The total youth at each facility?
Yeah.
We have 75 at YSC. And at New Beginnings, we have 46.
There was a recent assault at one of the centers in the community. What is done to ensure that DYRS has taken proper safety precautions to, 1, make sure our youth are safe, but 2, make sure the staff and vendors are safe?
Absolutely, council member. So first of all, I can say that whenever one of our staff is assaulted, whether it's a community staff or facility staff, we do take that type of behavior seriously. I know in the case that you're referring to, that a custody order was issued revoking that young person's community status, or requesting to revoke that young person's community status. And so he was rearrested. Our group home providers have done a very good job over the years of being able to interact with young people and de-escalate situations. And they work very closely with our contracting and performance monitoring unit to ensure that they're following all of their standard operating procedures when interacting with young people in their homes. I'm sorry, Councilmember, I couldn't hear.
I was muted again. Your FY 24 operating budget decreased by 2%, which is equivalent to just over 1.7 million. How does the department plan to stay efficient with this decrease?
So Councilmember, that decrease is our 46 FTE reduction. So we feel like we are appropriately budgeted to continue all of our community programs and our facility-based programs. That reduction of 1.7, about 1.75 million is just vacancies that we will be eliminating for FY24.
Thank you. Ms. Robinson spoke about an issue with technology there with the monitors. Can you speak to the validity of that?
So I can tell you, Councilmember, that since Ms. Robinson brought this to my attention within a week or two of me being appointed to this role, I requested that our operations division do a complete review of the technology in both of our control centers at both locations at YSC and New Beginnings. And so I know that our vendor is working on that assessment and preparing a quote for us.
Got it. And I'm also concerned because we've also seen that your capital budget was reduced by almost 94%. From about 43 million in FY23 to about 250,000 in FY24. What impact does this have on proper security measures, getting things fixed, keeping the facility up to par, and what we just talked about, basic technology needs?
Right, Councilmember. That reduction is due to us not proposing any new capital projects in FY24, but we do have ongoing capital projects that will continue from this year. And so we do have a project ongoing right now for YSC security improvements. And that project is continuing. I believe it's still in the design phase.
So there is also a project supposed to happen on New Beginnings grounds for youth who are not in the system to come to that part of the facility to do programming. Is that project still ongoing, or where are we with that project?
That is part of our violence prevention initiative, the DC Youth Leadership Oasis. That project is ongoing, but it has begun with a cohort of 10 young people, and they are still participating in mentoring and various activities over the course of the 16-week program, and being connected to credible messengers, all while we continue to perform this project. We're renovating some spaces on the Laurel campus of New Beginnings. Okay,
because I thought this is a whole complete redesign from the meetings I've been in based on the schematics and the design that I've seen. Now you're saying you are fixing up something that's already existing?
There are some buildings on the property that are being renovated as a part of this, and then there are going to be separate areas where youth and families can do classroom activities and can stay overnight.
Thank you. Contract services at the agency increased about $200,000 from 1.8 million to 2.1 million. Are these existing contractors, or will you be adding? Are you increasing the amount for existing contractors, or will you be putting out new solicitations for additional services?
So, Councilmember, these represent increases to our cleaning contract and our Office of Independent Juvenile Justice Facilities Oversight. I would not be able to say if the Office of Independent Juvenile Justice Facilities Oversight is planning to add additional contracts, but to my knowledge, this represents increases in some of the contract values.
Got it. And I even heard from not just during this hearing, but in previous hearings, mostly performance oversight hearings, that some of the providers are having a hard time connecting with youth. What is the agency doing to incentivize youth, incentivize programs? Because if they're not mandated to attend, we increase the number of programs, which would be good, but if the youth not attending, I'm not sure how we connecting and getting the most bang out of our buck.
Right, totally understood. One thing that our Achievement Center programming and our case management team try to do is find programming that youth are interested in and provide it at both of our locations or at the location where the youth who are generally interested primarily attend. Some of our providers, yes, have had low census or participation rates, but one thing that our Achievement Center and our grants management team do is try to figure out which individual youth want to participate in that program, and if instead of performing those services at one of our achievement centers, maybe they will perform them at a different achievement center to better accommodate young people who do want to participate. So there is a lot of ongoing communication between the young people and with the vendors to try to figure out how best to serve our young people. But I can't say that 100% of the time we hit the mark and have, a large class participate in one particular program.
Thank you. Violence is increasing in the district, man. It's at record numbers. Right? We've had the highest amount of violent crimes we had in 3 years in the last 20 years. And we know that the mayor erected the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And in fact, while we're on this Zoom today, we just had a shooting at a funeral, which seems to be a fatality or two. How are you guys working with the ONE's office to provide services, accountability for those in DYRS care and those who are returning back to the community?
Absolutely, council member. I was just in communication with ONE's recently about our programs working together, whether it be in the community or in our facilities, to figure out, how things in the neighborhoods are spilling over into the facilities and how things in the facilities may be spilling out into the neighborhoods. But in the limited time I've been in this role, we have not had an opportunity to fully develop any particular programming, but I am actively working on that, council member.
I guess, are you all having regular meetings? Is there is Incredible Messengers working with them? Are they, because they have these Tuesday, they have a lot of things happening. How is the agency assigning people or vice versa to kind of have a continuum of care between multi-agencies?
Right, council member, I just spoke with Director Harley Harper earlier this morning, and we're in the planning phase of scheduling regular check-ins in order to do this, but we have not had an opportunity to do so just yet.
That's critical to this work, Director. I'm glad you spoke to Director Lenny Harley Harper. It is my prayer that it happens sooner than later, because we don't want to continue to be reactive. We want to be proactive. And we know that some of these youth are already under our care. We've seen over the last 10 years hitting the news, and we're trying to figure out what happened. Where are they? Get back to my line of questioning. The agency management training decreased by 89,000. Can you give us some thoughts on, training costs as relates to management and a significant decrease?
Yes, council member, that represents a decrease in our travel for training and conferences. And so, it takes us back to FY22 levels. And we think this is the right fit for our budget. We still will have training opportunities. We still will be able to do some travel, but we found that in FY23, we're not spending as much on travel. And so this right sizes our budget for FY24.
Thank you. I'm looking at this right here. I see currently you have 67 credible messengers.
Correct, Councilmember.
Prior to you, we were told that the agency will be increasing significant number of credible messengers. We have not seen that increase, and yet now we're cutting staff. When we see that credible messengers have been a community/agency/government tool to help address some of the crime, even inside and outside, including DYRS. And I even had some instances where there were listings on the website and people will call the agencies trying to get an interview to no avail. Is there an issue at HR there? I'm trying to figure out what's the breakdown into opening up slots, trying to hire more staff to address these issues and getting people hired. Because it seems like there's a breakdown in our hiring practices at DYRS.
Well, Councilmember, actually, I think during my tenure in this role so far, our HR team has done a stellar job of getting quality candidates in the pipeline. We have approximately 20 direct care staff who are currently in the hiring pipeline. And I mean, we feel that if we can get these 20 on board and retain them while working on the next 20, we will be exactly where we want to be from a hiring standpoint.
Well, I know you're speaking to that as, you've been at the interim director for 8 weeks, which, this hearing is about a year worth of work. And I'm concerned with the hiring practices there. Also with the retention of staff. While we're hiring people that's trying to get hired, we know we have been losing staff as well. What are you hearing or understanding the issue of why so many people have left DYRS?
So, Councilmember, to be honest with you, I think that, a lot of the points that Ms. Robinson made were accurate in a sense that, staff want to see youth as well as other staff be treated fairly, but, have consequences for their actions or inactions. And so, one of the things that I said earlier is that we really have to focus on accountability for staff and for youth, and understanding that, or ensuring that new staff understand their roles and responsibilities and are properly paired with senior staff and are trained appropriately so they fully understand their role. I think that that is the focus for us going forward in order to ensure that the staff that we have now remain, and the staff that we are in the process of onboarding want to stay here and work with us.
Thank you. I got to jump back real quick along the lines of programming and vendors. We heard Ms. Fields from CASA DC talk about their amazing work they're doing in partnership with DYRS and other agencies and organizations. But also, it's just not with CASA DC, with other providers. They talk about some of their barriers to providing those services. How does the agency hear from vendors or get pushback from vendors and create a safe space so vendors can give input how to make programming better for our youth?
So, council member, every year, but also throughout the year, our grants management team holds workshops, development sessions with our vendors, but they're also in direct contact regarding any issues that might be had. And so, in terms of the way in which parents are to register their young people, I need to check into that to see if there are any technology solutions that have not yet been explored. But I think we can make this a more seamless process.
Yep, that sounds like a easy fix to me. And I see you have got an increase in your technology budget, so. Jump back to this real quick. How many mental health professionals do you have currently working inside the agency, and can you break that down to facilities?
I'd have to get the exact number for you, council member, but there are three program managers, I'm sorry, one at YSC, one at New Beginnings, and one at for our Achievement Center locations. And then they also have a deputy director for the behavioral health division. I would need to get all of the breakdown of all of the program staff for you.
Thank you. 4 FTEs are removed from performance management, which is critical to ensure we're going in the right direction. Can you give some rationale to why is that the case?
So, as I said earlier, council member, we've had a number of vacant positions over the course of the last several years, and these were positions that were identified for, as being vacancies that we've had for some time. And so, I think that our current team is more than capable of performing the performance management duties without additional FTEs.
Yeah, but performance management is something that's critical, and DC has been under scrutiny for at least a decade or so, trying to get from underneath the previous stipulations we had through our lawsuit, and we're finally crawling from underneath of that, and now we are removing performance management staff that keep us out the hot seat. So that is concerning for me, with so many things happening with DYRS on a daily basis. The communication on public affairs budget increase, I guess about 100,000. How would this increase in funding expand or enhance the communication and public affairs of your agency? We heard that on the MLK site, now you as director know what restrictions to use when advertising a off-site activity or program space, but how would this help the communications of what you guys are doing well, what programs are available where, and just overall communication?
Yes, council member. So, as we talked about and have stated before, we've opened up our programming to district or residents across the district, and not just DYRS young people. And so, part of our strategy to get the word out is to advertise in certain locations. And so I think, for us, this funding represents an opportunity to invest in advertisements in order to get the word out about what it is that we're doing to the people who most need it.
Okay, anything specific that you all going to do?
Councilmember, I know that we're working on some advertisements across the district. I would have to get you a full breakdown of what exactly those are.
What will you be advertising?
Our programming, our Achievement Center and Vote programming.
there has, DYRS is probably still under investigation for sexual assault allegations there. It was an issue on about male and female interactions. I guess during the performance oversight hearing, I still heard that there was really no policy change. So I don't know what is different there. Is there anything different that was put in place to prevent or have some type of accountability for incidents that may occur like that? And I know you
So-
only been there 8 weeks, so I just want to know from your lead.
Yeah, so council member, in terms of a specific policy, I could not tell you that there is one that has changed, but in terms of the operation, and I have witnessed this myself on multiple occasions in visiting and working in the secure facilities, that we are appropriately staffing our units with the appropriate sex staff. Or appropriate gender staff, so that there are no males in direct contact with females without a female staff present.
And what is it? Are there any new reporting mechanisms in place to provide safe spaces for anyone to get their voice heard if they're feeling afraid of retaliation? How does one give a report of incidents like this?
So, council member, there have been, since my tenure here with the agency, and still are, reporting mechanisms across the agency. There are project hands boxes where anyone can fill out a slip and put in the box, make a complaint. And we also have the public defender service on site at both locations. And so anyone can make a complaint to PDS without DYRS involvement if need be. And so that, as well, as all the staff that work in the facilities are mandated reporters. Anybody can report to a manager. We have a number of accountability tools across the agency, council member.
Thank you for that. Do you plan on increasing the number of credible messengers with this new budget, or decreasing or staying the same? And if so, by how many?
So right now, council member, I think the plan is for us to stay the same. We do not have any intentions of increasing right now. But we think that this number is manageable for us. And we work with credible messengers every day and appreciate the outstanding work that they do.
Got it. Funding for risk management grew by just over $500,000. I guess from 509,000 to 1.7 million. Can you explain the significant increase in risk management and what's the goal with that?
Yes, so council member, there really isn't an increase. This is just a shift of funds from property management to risk management, because property management was paying for the items out of this line item anyway, or property management was paying for them for risk management. And so they're all within the same division. And so it's just a shift.
Got it. I guess this is an ongoing thing. And I had the opportunity to meet with some young people in my office a few weeks ago. And they had deep conversations about the school to prison pipeline and some things they said they happened to them involving not with DYRS, but with, in the community, et cetera. And I'm concerned that we probably oversee less than 250 youth, right? You probably named 100 in facilities, but let's say that we provide services outside of facilities, of course. So I'm running to 200, and the DC budget for your agency is almost 88 million, right? Just trying to get some understanding. We have more money, but we're servicing less youth, right? And one of the things I did like was that in the last couple of months, maybe a year or so, you guys expanded the services outside of just detained youth or committed youth, which is excellent. And also, I'm looking to speak back with Musa and John Mean about this other facility that's being reconstructed. But it's to the public. What would you say to the public for a government agency that has this amount of money, but not amount of youth, to make them assure that we're in the right directional space?
So yes, council member, our secure facilities, for one, have fixed costs. And so those facilities, whether they're full or half full, they still have around the same costs. In addition to that, we are serving more populations than we have in the past. So you mentioned the DC Leadership Oasis program, which started its initial cohort of 10 youth. And that pool of individuals who are connected to that program is going to grow over time. We also serve about 60 court social services young people on a daily basis. We also serve about 28 post-committed youth who choose to participate in DYRS programming on a daily basis. And then there are families and friends of youth connected to the agency, community members, and then the 25 youth with CFSA that are credible messenger service, 63 youth that are credible messenger service at or for DCPS. And then with DC libraries, DC public libraries, another 20 youth. So although there may be 250 or so youth who are directly connected to DYRS, our DYRS programming is also serving approximately another 100 youth every day. So we're talking about 350 youth as opposed to the 200 to 250 that are directly connected to the agency.
Historically, DYRS did a stellar job in supporting youth who were in college. Is that still ongoing? Haven't seen or heard much about that lately.
It is ongoing, council member, and I would have to collect the data on that for you. But I know that we are having some young people who are college ready in our secure facilities participate in college courses, and we support our post-committed youth and committed youth who might be interested in going to college with their books and such, and travel to their schools that they are enrolled in.
And what type of supports do you all provide those Title 16 youth that are going to federal penitentiaries, if any?
So one, our credible messengers are a big support, some of whom have served time. Two, we make education available to Title 16 youth who may be finishing certain coursework. And I believe we've had a couple who were enrolled in programming through the University of District of Columbia.
How many you have in UDC currently?
I have to get that number for you, council member.
Who are we contracting for our security services there at New Beginnings NYC?
That's
And we
through
gotta get some staff to help you out, because I know you only been there 8 weeks, but I know that Mr. Baxter is here, Mr. Ajabori is here. Because there's a lot of things we got to get answers to on record, and so you don't want to skip everything. I'm trying to be
I would say that the budget for the agency for their security is housed in DGS. So DGS, from a budget standpoint, is responsible for the agency's security.
Yeah. So my question was not around the budget. My question was who, what company?
So council member, the company is Sam Security, and they're contracted through DGS.
Got it. Do we do an evaluation of our security at all through the agency?
So I would need to check on the exact way in which the evaluation works, but each year there is a security assessment that's done by DGS, and I can get that information to you also, council member.
Yeah, full transparency. I'm be raising a lot of issues about security there, with several overdoses, with the increase, lack of security. I mean, it's supposed to be a secure facility that's not secure. We're not just talking about the fights that can happen any moment. Somebody could just put somebody in the face if they wanted to. But we're talking about people with kids and trusting their kids in our care, and are selling drugs, smoking drugs, who knows what else is happening in our facility, in our care with someone's child. And so I will be sending some additional inquiries about this. Director, just want to let you know, because this is a concern, not just for me, but other committee members and the greater community. It's been a hot button topic, and some of the types of drugs that have been alleged to be a facility has been deadly. We've had some overdoses there. So I just want to make sure that we are taking this seriously and not lightly as it relates to how the facility is ran, because it's called rehab. The DYRS, Department of Youth Rehabilitation. We're supposed to be rehabbing. So we shouldn't be a place where our kids are, who may or may not have been taking drugs before, now are on drugs at a rehab facility, right? It's not basic logic. So we're sending a number of questions. Any follow-ups to any of those questions I had, Director? I'm pinging my staff to figure out what we missing.
Yes, council member, you asked about.
Sending you notes and texts and whatever, just kind of get you.
Councilmember, you asked about mental health specialists. We have a total of 14 mental health specialists, 4 at the Youth Services Center, 7 at New Beginnings, 2 in the community, and 1 deputy director.
And I do want to emphasize the need for more pop-ups there with the canines, and also checking. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but if there are cell phones, because we heard from Ms. Crawford that this is a digital war that's happening, and a lot of these beefs and fights escalate through social media and cell phones. And so we don't know who is saying what, where, and how that's leading to other things in the facility and on the streets. And so I will be looking for some reports about, what's being confiscated as well, Director.
Absolutely, Councilmember.
So, scanning through real quick. All right. As a final note for this hearing, if anyone cannot testify but would like to submit written testimony to be included in official record, you can email your testimony to the Committee on Recreation, Library, and Youth Affairs at RYA@dccouncil.gov. The official record will close on Wednesday, April the 18th at 5:30 p.m. I want to thank you, Director, your staff, and all those who serve every day in these agency facilities to help our youth rehab and create a better quality of life for them and their families. The time is now 1:55 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, Councilmember